The webinar
Okay,
is
so
now
come on.
broadcasting to all attendees. Hello, attendees.
Hello, attendees.
How are you?
So is your oh, look at my camera's gone all fuzzy. Come on, camera, focus. I know what it's doing.
So
It's all right. I look way better unfocused anyway, right?
the
Hides all the
look,
blemishes, James, you know.
I was not going down that route at all, nor did I think it. Okay, just so you know.
So we're deeply honored to have James Musselwhite with us tonight. So we're going to just have a general chat like we normally do, but James will be a fountain of knowledge for us as to the 10 essential things that a portrait photographer needs to do. And I think have you changed the title on me, James? Did I
I have.
see that in your
Uh,
Honest Photographer group?
well, here's the thing, right? So I thought that we were just going to have a nice little chat for an hour. I got some beers in, and I thought it's just going to be me and you and a nice, cozy little Facebook audience of fellow photographers and creatives just talking about stuff. And then I saw the title, and I thought, okay, let's change it to something a bit more relevant and on brand and on point for what's happening in the world now, rather than covering our eyes and covering our ears and pretending everything isn't happening. The elephant's in the room. So I've changed it to 10 essential things that every portrait photographer needs to know to get to Christmas.
Okay, so Christmas is how many weeks away now? It's about...
I'm not even, I don't, sorry, here we go. Here's the first rant. We're getting, no, because you get emails at the moment, because we're in that season where the automated emails from corporations are coming through saying it's only so many days to Christmas. And it's like so far down the list of priorities at the moment. But it's not far away, shall we say? Because you've only got, what is it, October, November, December. So you're talking about 11, 12 weeks, if that.
So we've 12 weeks to get
12 weeks
to
away.
Christmas. So tell me this, why did you change the title?
Because I believe that it's important as a photographer in a creative industry to be as honest as possible with people who are in your sphere of interest, people who are your fellows photographers, you know, to produce content that advises, that's as relevant as possible to the time we're currently living in, which, you know, I'm fed up of hearing we're in extraordinary times and these are, you know, these are uncertain times and all these sorts of things, but we genuinely are. And I think to deliver any sort of presentation that doesn't at least touch on that would be, you know, would be doing a disservice. So I don't have the answers as to how we as social photographers, be it a wedding photographer or a portrait photographer or whatever it is, I don't know how to get to Christmas. But let's just put that out there. I'm going to give you 10 points how to get there. I don't know how to get to Christmas, but I believe that there are opportunities out there. I believe there is some sort of semblance of hope out there. That doesn't mean it's not going to be difficult. It is going to be difficult, but it will involve a little bit of hard work, but also a little bit, I think, from drawing up the list, we realized, me and my wife put it together, how much of it was stepping back and not putting too much pressure on yourself. When we went back to work, when the kids went back to school, which was 2 weeks ago, day one, dropped the kids off, went home, and we went, right, let's smash this out of the park. We're back. We're in the office. We're working. It's go time. And it was the wrong attitude, because we gave ourselves a mountain we couldn't climb. And we had to, within a couple of days, we realized, no, we need to wind this back, unravel it a little bit, and set ourselves really short-term goals that are easily achievable to give ourselves small rewards to a bigger goal. Because that's the thing. It's like I run a little running club here in Fareham, close to where I live. And the prospect of anyone new to running a marathon, running 26 miles without stopping is insurmountable, but it's possible. But your first step towards running a marathon isn't running a marathon. Like, your first step towards running a marathon is going out and doing a little 10-minute run walk. And then you gradually build up from there until X, Y, and Z down the line, you become a marathon runner. And that's how I view business in some ways, really.
So where did you start then with this? Did you start with looking at the numbers of what you wanted in sales and therefore clients in the door, or where was your starting point?
Okay, so real talk, the starting point is the accountant, and that's on my list. It's point number 7, so we've joined to that, so I can cross that one off. We spoke to our accountant, and that was a piece of advice I wanted to sort of give people, in terms of sometimes it can be really overwhelming trying trying to make your way through your own finances at the best of times. But at these times where we've got furloughing coming to an end, where we've got our Chancellor announcing measures to help save jobs that on the face of it seem quite complicated and are probably even more complicated when you actually eventually get down to the detail, you need a professional to give you advice. When everything happened in terms of lockdown, and all of a sudden, once again, I go back to it, being a social photographer was rendered almost impossible because we couldn't socialize with people. One of the first steps we made was to get my accountant onto a Zoom chat just like this to talk to my private group of photographers openly and answer their questions, because he has the knowledge and the expertise and the skill to point you in the right direction. So rather than listening to hearsay online or reading people's Facebook posts and I hear this is this, or my friend said this is this, actually go to a professional and get those numbers crunched. Then you just literally need to, you need to work out, okay, we talk about money, man. Honestly, I said this to someone recently, like, I think like in the 90s, particularly with Cancer Research UK, massive strides were made in the 90s to not make cancer a taboo issue. Before the 90s, it was like a thing that no one spoke about, really, nowhere near as openly as we do today. And we've made massive strides recently with regards to mental health. And there's lots of other really, particularly with health issues that are like really personal, but just charities and things like that have made them things that we can openly talk about. I think money's the last taboo.
Do you?
People, they're so, I personally find it really uncomfortable talking about money. And it is kind of a British thing of kind of like, people speak about money with regards to what they buy. Do you know what I mean? I spoke to someone today, I spoke to Joanne Elizabeth just down the road from me, a wonderful boudoir photographer, who said people wear their money. That doesn't necessarily mean they talk about it, though. They wear their money in terms of cars and clothes and the jewelry and the things that they wear. But I don't think we actually talk about it. And to actually sit down and have these chats with our accountant, like, okay, how many savings have you got? How much do your kids cost every week in terms of your food bill, in terms of all the clubs, in terms of all those things? The wonderful thing about lockdown was that we could go through all of our subscriptions and just go, okay, well, we don't need that subscription, don't need that subscription, don't need that one. Take them all out. Take out all of your outgoings, work out what you need to keep a roof over your head, and then go from there. And then, you can, that's literally the first small basic steps to getting to a point where you can sort of get to Christmas effectively, I think. And there are going to be opportunities between now and Christmas to make money, and therefore to make ends meet. But getting all your ducks in the row with a professional is probably the first piece of advice I would give.
So when you did that, then you had a clearer view as to what you needed to achieve sales-wise and margin-wise and everything else to get to Christmas while managing your cost base as well.
That's pretty much it. And then you literally can look at, and then it's just a simple, it's always been the same thing with regards to photography. Particularly portrait photography, you either shoot high volume, low turnover, low average order, or low volume, high average order. It's quite difficult to sort of like get both high turnover and high average order sort of thing. And that's a reasonably simple equation. I think, I forget the name of the woman who used to do the high street programs on Channel 4 with the short ginger bob, but she had she went to a portrait studio and just said the exact same thing right at the beginning of the episode. She said, you need to work out whether you're doing low volume exclusively or high volume, and I don't care, just get lots of people in, really. And that is a tricky thing to do, and it's going to be a really tricky thing to do high volume at the moment, because this is one thing that we can't control. And this is like, I think, point number 3 on my list, which is like, don't try and control the things you can't control. I listened to a podcast recently with regard from the director of Park Run, which are a series of weekly 5K park runs that have had to stop and will be coming back, I think, at the end of October, but that's still up in the air because everything's changed. This is the point of this podcast. This is the point of this chat that we're having now, is that I don't believe you can sit here and say, I'm going to give you 12 months worth of marketing strategy, because right now I can't market for the next 12 hours. Because I don't know what's going to happen in the next 12 hours because things are so fluid. Regionally, things are changing as well as nationally. Anyway, he was on this podcast and he said, the one thing we can't control is the public confidence. I can't control how my customers feel at this moment in time, because I'm going to have some customers at this end of the scale who just don't care, who will come to me, who will be all like, you know, laissez-faire about it and laid back and all those kind of things. And then I'm going to have my customers at the other end of the scale who are going to be really, really cautious about it, you know, and are going to take real massive precautions. They're going to need lots of reassurance, or won't even come to me until there's a vaccine. I have to be respectful for everyone along that scale. Have to be. I can't try and impart my personal opinions on them. So that's a real element of mindfulness for that. And I think if you can do that and protect your customers who are more cautious in the long run and look after them and reassure them that you respect that opinion, they will be your customers later on down the line, and that will have, you know, greater benefits later on, if that makes sense.
So how does that position of the person who's the customer who's willing to come in now and the customer who's really cautious and isn't going to go out in public till there's a vaccine, how do you manage that within your marketing?
Well, within the marketing, you kind of like, I think you kind of get, because of the way that marketing works in terms of social media, you do get an instantaneous reaction. You'll get no reaction from the people who don't want to come and see you, but from the people who definitely do want to come and see you, they're going to still be engaging with you on social media. And while people are being furloughed and are away from work, actually social media is actually a better form of marketing than ever because people have more time to browse it. So I think you do get an instantaneous reaction from there. One of the best social media posts that we posted on both LinkedIn and Facebook, I think, was the PPE and safety equipment. We were posted by Renato from the Print Foundry, who just, I didn't even know it was coming. But it just arrived, and it was like a little anti-bac station with a jar of anti-bac and a face mask with my brand on it and loads of signage. And it's a simple free piece of advertising to sort of say, look, we are taking this seriously. These precautions are in place. We are trying to provide as safe an environment for you as possible. And that reassurance during this time, I think, is valuable.
And then, of course, there's the financial side of things in sense of, you know, we often, because we see all the doom and gloom, don't we, on the news and on the radio and everything else. So, but there are people out there who have money to spend.
There are, and there always will be. You know, there are certain demographics in this time who are what we would previously have called recession-proof. Especially now, like I think that demographic of like maybe I'm thinking 50 plus is kind of like the demographic that is kind of recession-proof. And they're the ones that you want to almost, I think, try and gear your marketing towards. If you're a newborn photographer, babies are still being born as well. Like this hasn't stopped babies being born. So that market is still there. But it's just the sense of being seen to do as much as you can to make your conditions and your working situation as safe as possible for everyone coming in. And there's loads of advice out there, you know, to do that. I believe certain bodies within this industry could do more to help promote what that looks like and what that is. But you can go out and find that information if you wish. And I think that reassurance specifically probably appeals more to that demographic as well than maybe the younger one. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And I think that's a really, really positive marketing strategies. Do you know what I mean? You know, rather than come in and buy this sort of thing, it's kind of like, yeah, no, because the sympathy amongst the general public for independent retailers and people who have set up their own businesses and family run businesses and all that sort of thing is almost at an all-time high. I think the awareness of it and the awareness of how some of them are so hand to mouth and some of them are so, you know, it's so precarious for a lot of them in terms of their very existence. I think there's a lot of public sympathy out there, which we can, you know, which we can reciprocate with good service. You know?
So I think what you're telling me is, and the advice you give me is that you need to, in your marketing, be focused on, so who's got money to spend, and two, those who have money, who's happy to come in now and do a shoot and aren't worried about going anywhere until there's a vaccine.
I think so. And I think it's like, once again, it's not trying, I mean, we've had quite, over the last 4 weeks, we've seen a graph which sort of like had a peak of our customer interest in coming back to us, which was going up and up and up. And then in the last 2 weeks, when the restrictions have started to come in regionally and now nationally, it's actually fallen off a cliff again. So it's almost been like a repeat in March of when my diary emptied over 48 hours. So my March diary had events and shows and portrait sessions and weddings, and it had so much stuff in it. And in 48 hours, my diary was empty for the year, completely empty. So, I mean, I've put here point number 9 is be prepared to be versatile at this time. And versatility means being able to turn your hand to as many things as possible. It's, if you're in a position where you've built a strong brand over a singular objective and a singular style and a singular customer, you're actually in a really, really strong position, I think, right now, because you provide that unique service, you know, that unique service to someone. I think the exception to that is weddings, which is you would need to speak to a full-time wedding photographer to really get the big picture sort of Scooby on that. For someone like me who probably only shoots about 10 weddings a year, it's not, you know, it's something that I'm versatile enough to move away from. But my heart goes out to wedding photographers at the moment, and to the brides, and to the grooms, and to the stories that are being shared around that industry, because it's genuinely a heartbreaking time for everyone. But I think my strength is being able to be versatile. So this week we did a corporate video shoot yesterday. We are doing food photography on site for someone tomorrow who does mobile catering. We've worked with a care home on Monday. So, and a lot of my work's coming from corporate, because at the moment there is a need to market somehow for the corporate sector, and I think we can provide those services safely as people slowly sort of try to fill these, because all other businesses are moving with these times as well, so they're having to adapt to change as well. So there is, you know, everyone's kind of in the same boat, the forward-thinking ones. You know, change is inevitable, progress is optional, as I always say. So there are avenues out there. It's just in my experience, and I'm not a photographer that puts myself in too much of a niche, I'm able to be versatile, and I'm looking to be versatile between now and Christmas to do different things.
So let's say I'm 99.9% a wedding photographer.
Yeah, I knew you were going to say this as soon as I said it.
And I'm looking around and I'm going, okay, so I'm listening to James, and we're talking about portraiture, and we're talking about commercial and videography. How do what's the first step I need to take to make that transition?
To make that transition over, I mean, you need to look at, technically, as a photographer, you need to look at your skill set and work out where your skill set lies, whether it's with something basic like, is your skill set with natural light or with studio light? If you can work studio light, that's going to open up your business hours, because we're going into winter now. So there's going to be a real restriction on when you can shoot outside. And there's also going to be a real restriction on weather if you can offer a portrait service outside. So if you can adapt your natural light photography skills to an indoor setup, and see if you can adapt that way. If not, try and reach out to another photographer that you know from another association, or from something like that, to get some sort of level of training if you want to go down sort of like the studio flash photography route. It's a big shift to make. Like it is a big shift to make. But if you photographers, like, essentially, I go back to something that was sort of said to me when I started in 2003 professionally full time. My manager at the time said to me, because he's a fellow of everything back in the day, and he'd been shooting since the 60s and had his name painted above the storefront and all that in Fareham. And he said to me, there's nothing in all my years of photography to disprove the theory that people will buy images of their children smiling and looking at the camera. If you can work with kids, you know, and there's going to be this demand coming up to Christmas for some level of photography, for some sort of presentation that people can hand over to relatives they may not have seen for as much as they would like, or at all even, you know, and to have something that actually graces someone's wall in the form of a piece of wall art, in the form of people smiling, looking happy in the middle of a dreadful time, then it gives everyone something positive to look towards, I think.
Yeah, I think, you know, and I talk to a lot of photographers, as you know, as you do too.
Yeah.
And I get a sense that from they talking to me that a lot of people out there, you know, they become closer in their relationships to family, friends, pets, whatever those close relationships are.
Yeah.
And that, you know, there's a longing to get those relationships recorded in art, in photographic art. Are you seeing that as well?
I Yeah, do you know what? I do see it, and I do see, the more I go into this career, this journey in this career, the more I do see the hope for that style of wall art, I suppose, for something that really separates and does something a little bit different. My initial journey into photography was very sort of like sausage factory. Essentially, we just shot everyone the same way, and it was just get in, get out sort of thing as quickly as possible. And I think, speaking to Joanna again today, I mentioned it twice now because it's just a very fresh conversation that we had in our mind. But the importance of pre-shoot consultations for that bespoke service. So for years, I worked on the principle of, they turn up on the doorstep and you just shoot them as quickly, you get to know them as quickly as possible. You shoot them as quickly as possible. Anyone who's seen any of my videos will know that I'm not a slow worker. I'm just like, quick, go, 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 And I think we have the technology in this instance here, in this Zoom instance, to actually meet with our clients effectively. It's a dreadful way to do a post-session consultation. I haven't enjoyed that. I've done that a couple of times, and I haven't enjoyed doing it via Zoom because I can't feel a reaction like I can in a room to the work that I've provided, And I think there's something about that, and that sales environment that has to be in the same room at the same time. But pre-consultations, looking after your wedding clients, if you've got your wedding clients and they've had to postpone, using these Zoom chats is a wonderful way to stay connected with them, to reassure them, to let you know that they're there for them, to let you know that, it's the one thing I always taught about wedding photography, that when you're selling yourself is that you're giving your bride and groom one less thing to worry about for their wedding day. And you can reassure them of that, hey, next year, I understand this is terrible, but next year you still have one less thing to worry about because I'm still going to be providing that service for you. And it's a case of, as well, when looking at that way is, sorry, I'm taking a bit of a tangent here, but something else I discussed was no photographer right now, no social photographer, I should say, right now is killing it out there. Like, it's like when our kids were taken out of school during lockdown, one of the things that one of my teacher friends said to me, she said, don't worry about your son falling behind. Because no kids are at school. So everyone stopped. And it's like, okay, well, if you're a wedding photographer, no one out there right now is killing weddings. Everyone stopped. And so you have to take this time. And it feels really redundant to say this, because we have taken our time from March until now to go through our kit and tidy our studios and update our websites and look at our social media profiles and clear out some clutter and all this sort of stuff. But it really is another time to sort of relook at that and refine that and be ready to go when you come back.
So something that we've looked at, like, I love strategy, I love marketing, and one of the guys I really like is Mike Michalowicz. I follow him on everything.
Okay.
But one of the books he's written is called Surge, and he has this analogy of, if I'm a surfer, your job as the owner of the business and in charge of strategy is to position your surfboard for the wave that's coming, because the only way you can be successful in business is that there's a wave that you're not in control of, that you just mentioned a little while ago, mm-hmm. and you position your business to take advantage of that wave of change.
Mm-hmm. And that's a good analogy, right? But it is slightly redundant in this time, because I don't know what that wave looks like at the moment. All I know is there's a wave. There is definitely a wave coming. This seems like a terrible use of the word wave at the moment.
I know.
But all I know is there is something coming over the horizon, but I can't really predict it. But what I can do is I can prepare to be as versatile for when that comes, so I can adapt to it as quickly as possible. And I think almost that's better than not knowing that there's something coming at all.
So do you think, all the chat at the moment is about the unemployment rate's going to go up significantly?
Yes.
So therefore there's going to be people looking for jobs. So therefore they need updated headshots for their LinkedIn profile and stuff like that. Do you think that's a possible opportunity?
Oh, yeah, 100%. Yeah. I mean, and also I think people have been being forced to use, sorry, I'll start again, because that was just words that didn't form a sentence. So what this time has forced people to do is work from home. working from home means that you're more acutely aware of your avatars on emails, your avatars when your Zoom thing pops up, your avatar on your LinkedIn profile, all those kind of things, those business headshots, I suppose, and the public perception of your business from a visual point of view, from the way that it looks, you know. So a lot of our inquiries have actually been from businesses, for example, not even the headshots, not even the avatars, but like from businesses just calling us, just going, we're looking at our website, we're thinking of having it redone, but we just need that, or everything updating, you know. And then as photographers, it shouldn't be too much of a leap of faith to go into to take a small step into some sort of videography, to add that as an add-on in service. I'm not talking about, you know, creating amazing video packages for these people, but just small, short little clips of things that can work, really. A few talking heads as testimonials. We know how to light, we know how to light faces. You know, is this a good light? Oh no, this is a trap. You see, I don't want to say we know how to light faces, and my lighting's slightly off. But we know how to light faces, so we should be able to know how to light them for sort of small talking heads for videos, and that kind of, you know, that kind of thing is invaluable to a business. So those sort of those things are really, really important in terms of building relationships, and also just going out to local independent suppliers close to where you are and just introducing yourself. One of the things we did during the first lockdown was I designed a mini brochure that I'm waiting delivery on it next week, and I'm just going to go walking up and down the street, find other independent businesses. So not a Costa Coffee, I'm going to the little one on the corner and just handing over my thing and just saying, I'm doing lots of blog features at the moment on other businesses like me who are going through a difficult time. I'd like to talk to you about how you've managed the last few months, and maybe do a small photographic featurette on you for my website. Just offer them a headshot or something, you know, them stood outside their businesses, you know, something like that. But it's just getting your name out to the local businesses around. And then that ideally could lead to more corporate work, but all of these things lead to all other sorts of work. They may have a dog that they want a dog portrait shoot for. They may know someone who's pregnant who needs a baby shoot for. They may know someone who's getting married who needs to, all those sorts of things. But you're never going to progress sat down doing nothing, worrying. You know, you're never going to progress scrolling your timeline. Scrolling your timeline is going to do nothing. And there's very, you know, you have online marketing strategies, online advertising strategies that people are way more experienced on, way more qualified to lecture you on than me. But I know that I can walk up and down the street, find my local businesses and introduce myself and put my face in front of their face. And I know that at the end of the week, I will have more business at the end of the week. I know that. Guarantee. I don't know what that business is going to be, but I know I will have business by the end of the week.
And have you seen any opportunities to partner with those local businesses in any way?
Of course. I mean, if a local business has space, like a lot of these places, like there's a gallery about a mile down from me. I know they've got a room upstairs, for example. Now, if that place is next door to a coffee shop, and if that coffee shop regularly services mums, you could maybe make sure that the upstairs is safe enough to allow for a small studio space. You can get the permission from the gallery owner downstairs, ask them what the fee is to rent the art gallery space that's happening upstairs, because no one's visiting art galleries at the moment. And you can do a pre-Christmas shoot for babies up to 5 years old there who aren't at school. You just book it out for the week, and then you just use the coffee shop to advertise, and then you back it up with your online advertising through your Facebook. But that, you didn't get there by scrolling through your phone. You got there by, you know, and that's just a hypothetical example, but I can literally picture it. I can literally picture how that would work. And the point is that you're answering a need, and the need is, what are we going to give Nan and Grandad for Christmas who haven't seen their grandkids? And that's what I'm answering. I'm bringing it to you as well. You don't have to come to my studio. You know, we're going to bring it to you. And it's next door at the coffee shop. And for everyone that missed out on it, guess what? We're going to be here next week. You know, and that's what we're looking at. We've picked, me and my wife have picked 2 weeks between now and Christmas that we've sourced studio space for, that we're just going to market the hell out of to get as many people in there as possible, to firstly, to provide a service, to provide an experience, to provide an answer to a question, an answer to a problem, and also to hopefully make new relationships with people and create a new base that we can build on next year.
So how many points have we done now, James? What do you have on your list?
Do you want me to start at the bit? Because we've gone all over the place. I'll start
Yeah,
at the
we
beginning.
have. We've been jumping from 3 to 7 to, because I haven't seen the list. So
No, I didn't. I kept it from you. Do you want me to start? Do you want me to have a look at it and see where we are?
Yeah.
One of the things, number one, is breathe. And that sounds really, really like airy-fairy, like hippie nonsense, right? But genuinely, it means take the pressure off yourself. And that's what I alluded to when I said the first week we went back, after the kids went back to school, we put way too much pressure on ourselves. The list of stuff we wanted to do that we thought was achievable would have been amazing if we got it done, but we would have both had nervous breakdowns by the end of the week, unquestionably. So take the pressure off yourself, one step at a time. You're going back into an uncertain environment. Everything's different, you know, and just give yourself a bit of space and a little bit of credit. I think my wife said you really need to celebrate small victories. The small victories that you achieve every day, you just need to celebrate them. Okay, cleared my email box for the day. Boom, that's great, you know. That's, you know, and that's what, because, you know, going back to this environment can be quite daunting. The second one was you have to allow for swings in your customer confidence, which you cannot control, but that just goes back to the fact that you can't try and control the things you can't control. Number three is you're not alone. We as photographers, as social photographers, are all in this together. The side note to that is that you will find photographers who are quite reclusive. You will find photographers who don't want really, who just want to stay in their own bubble and just want to do their own thing and aren't that sociable. That both are equally fine. I guarantee you're going to find other photographers who are like-minded to you. You will find, and if you're around this industry long enough, and I'm not talking about a massive group of people, but you will find a few people who you can lean on them and they won't fall over. This week, a friend, Fiona Mills, wonderful photographer down over there in West Sussex. I went to go and see her, had a morning coffee with her, chatted about everything apart from photography. It was absolutely wonderful. Played with her dog for a little bit. And I went down there because I needed to borrow a specific type of Canon body that I didn't have. So instead of having to go through a company and hoping it arrived on time and waiting to stay in for it to arrive and paying a fee for it, I've got someone who I've cultivated a friendship with in photography who's helped me out of a sticky situation. And that will always be reciprocated if she needs anything from me. And it has done in the past, you know. And I think, you know, it's good to make good positive relationships within this industry because we get it. Like, okay, here we go, real talk. I've had chats with people from outside of this industry who are very successful business people in their own right in different fields of business. And they have tried to help me with my photography business. And the advice they give me isn't wrong, right? But it's just off key. Does that make sense? Because it's so weird and unique what we sell and the product that we provide that really, when it comes to nuts and bolts and brass tacks, only other photographers get it. Does that ring true?
Yeah, I understand that because every business is, you know, has its own nuances regardless of what it is. That, you know, the principles are the same, but they may need a little bit of tweaking and adapting for a different business type, right?
I'll extend that actually to anyone in a creative industry. It's not exclusively photographers, because I've met other people from creative industry, game designers, animators, all those. They get it. You know, this sort of thing that what we're selling to. You know, it's weird. But anyway, sorry, I cut you off.
No, that's okay. I want to delve back into the importance of having those people who you can lean on, and they can lean on you. And one thing I see a lot in America is a lot of businesses over there seem to have their little masterminds of 4 or 5 people that they meet up on a regular basis. Now, I mean regular, like every week for maybe a 2-hour marketing session. I don't see much evidence of that in the UK. Is that going on in the UK? Do you see that where it's an organized mastermind of 4 or 5 people who meet up religiously every single week? Because it's lonely being on your own, right?
It is.
But brainstorm ideas like you've just talked about, and you know, problem shared is a problem halved, right? But if you have a mastermind of 5, well, then it's down to 20%. You know, the problem.
It is. I think it does happen. I think those groups aren't necessarily ones that you will be aware of, though, because of the nature of them. So you will find, you know, I was actually thinking in the car today, like, who's my little knit circle, you know, of that? You know, I've got big communities that I'm a part of, big associations I'm a part of, you know, all this sort of stuff, but who's my knit there? And I think within certain genres of photography, specifically with photographers who are relatively new to the industry, I think that happens. I think
Right.
that happens. But I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to form the basis of a formal meeting. You know, not formal meeting like we're meeting, but I think the regularity of it can be. I mean, that's maybe the regularity of it's been replaced by the WhatsApp group chat.
Right.
You know, that and that kind of thing. You know, if you're in WhatsApp groups and all that sort of thing, that's where you sort of bounce ideas off of and post things, and they're like, am I thinking the right thing about this? Do you think this as well? Just that level of reassurance. But I agree. I think getting like-minded, this is the thing, it's one of the basic fundamentals of creativity and being in a creative industry. You have to surround yourself, not necessarily with like-minded people, but with positive people.
Yes.
Oh man, that's so important. You cannot, it's really important to be there for people who need a pickup. Absolutely vital to be there for people who need a pickup, but you cannot surround yourself with people who constantly need picking up, because that's all you'll spend your time doing, you know. And there are, you know, but like I said, there are people who are sort of self-fulfilling prophecies in that way. And I think it is important to be there for other people, but it's so important to surround yourself with like-minded positive people, because it gives you a much more can-do positive outlook, you know.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And, you know, where I see these mastermind groups working is there's a consistency to it as well, because they all know each other's business intimately. So when someone is having a bad time, because we all have bad times some days, yeah, people are able to say, you know, snap out of that, you know, they can be that honest with them, you know, because they know each other so well.
You know what I've helped people with most since March, right? It's not lighting, it's not marketing, it's not customer retention, it's none of that. It's not even anything photography. It's headspace, it's personal relationships, it's just being there for other people. That stuff behind the scenes that can get in the way of you getting on with your professional thing is vital. And I think that's where those sorts of groups that you allude to are vitally important, because we all have those challenges, and it's important to be empathetic to people who are struggling, you know.
Absolutely. So talk to me about the honest photographer, because you talked about groups, as you know, we see so many groups now. So I was fascinated when I saw your group. The first thing that fascinated me, James, was the name.
Okay. Thank you.
Can you tell us the story behind that? Why did you pick that name, The Honest?
Okay. I will tell you why I picked the name The Honest Photographer. So what happened was I kind of was looking at the industry with regards to institutes, associations, and societies, and thinking a lot of people, because it's so disjointed, a lot of people's solutions was to, okay, well, I think we should all come together, so I'm going to set up another one. Right. And I'm looking at that going, okay, right. So, and I thought, what I needed, and it was a purely selfish thing that I did, right? It was only for me. What I needed was a group of like-minded, positive individuals, and it was only about 20 at the start, who I went through my friends list and thought, I would talk to that person about this. You know, I gave myself like a limit as to what I would talk to that person about. And I thought, just went through those 20 people, invited them in. And I'd said, well, welcome. What's going to happen in here is whenever I'm struggling up here during my working day or on shoots or whatever, I'm just going to go live on my Facebook into this group. And I'm just going to blurt it out. And if you're there and you're listening, great, and you give me a reaction, that's wonderful. And if you're not, you can watch it later. And I'll keep that as a record of how I was honestly feeling about things. So rather than going on there all polished with beautiful lighting and saying, come and join me for my 12-part seminar on how to create beautiful maternity images like this with beautiful music swaying in the background, making me look amazing. It It was just me it was just me when I was struggling. And it was me when I was recognizing my successes. I remember when I was approached by a model who wanted to do a shoot like Rocky, punch in the meat in a butcher's. He said, so you need to sort out a location for me. I'm like, I didn't even know where to start. You know, where do you start looking for that? So I just went down to my butcher, said, where'd you buy? Well, how big's your freezer, mate? And he showed me. He literally just showed me. Like, you go and see, honestly, if you see, I'll go back to my previous point. If you go and speak to independent retailers doing their independent gigs, you'll be fascinated how open they are with you and how welcoming they are. So he goes, come and have a look. So I'm like going around the back of this butcher's for all this meat. And it's this tiny little fridge. It's a walk-in thing, but it's tiny. I said, oh, I can't use this. He said, well, go and give Brian a ring. I was like, what? He goes, here's his number. He's down 3 miles that way. So I went down there. Oh, God, I went there. He said, I'll let you in. I'll let you walk around. But you can't shoot in here because of health and safety. I'm like, oh, God, nightmare. He goes, go and see Tony on the corner. What? He said, yeah, Tony don't care about health and safety. Go and see him, right? So I know who not to get my meat from. So I go and see him, and it's perfect. I mean, they're all hanging up. And all the lads out the back were in on it, and they were like, yeah, this is going to be really cool. And we got the model down there. Anyway, after I'd done that, after I'd sourced literally all I'd done was source a location. I just went live and I just said, do you know what? I woke up this morning struggling. I didn't know that a lot of work was coming in. This job came in and I was really nervous. And all the thoughts that were going through my head was, you won't be able to pull this off. You won't be able to find the location. It's going to cost you too much money. Even if you do it, there's going to be health and safety things where they won't allow you to shoot. And even if you do get to shoot there, you'll mess it up because you're not very good. Right? All of those thoughts went through my head. And within a space of 3 hours, I'd met three different people who I didn't know beforehand. They'd all let me into their business premises. The last guy said I could shoot it for free, provided I gave him a photo of the shoot in the end. And I'd sourced out a location completed for free that was legit, and I didn't have to green screen it or do anything like that. So I just went live and just said, guys, you got to get out there and try something new. You have to, because I feel great now. It's a silly little thing. I've been surrounded by dead meat, but I feel great. Title this talk that. So yeah, that's where it stemmed from. And then initially it was like, okay, only the people in here can invite someone. Like, but eventually you'll get invited. Because I only want like-minded people. I didn't want it to be like every other photography group out there. I didn't want it to be silly little GIFs or memes or gossip or all that nonsense that I can't stand. I just wanted it to be, I'm struggling with this or whatever it is, just real honest chat. And it's grown, and it's not grown massively, but it's like, it's what I call my little safe space, because there's no BS in there. It's brutally honest. It's not rude, you know. One guy in there said, we were given feedback on images or something. He said, what's the best way to critique an image that you think is just really shit? And I'm like, well, probably don't tell them that. That's not nice, is it? You know, so it's a very respectful place as well. I want it to be very respectful, very inclusive, and I want everyone to feel a part of it. But I love it in there. I've never had a problem in there. I moderate a lot of Facebook groups and they're not like that. So yeah, if you want to be part of an honest community, search the honest photographer and click on the one that has the most numbers, because there is another honest photographer and it's not me, but they've got lower numbers than me. So that's, you know, okay. But what do you like about it? I'm in so many groups now, James, to be perfectly honest with you. What I liked about it was the, when I did the interview in it, I thought it was, I loved the name first, right? The Honest Photographer. And I went, because I sort of wear my heart on my sleeve as well. And I'm, you know, some people hate me because I just say it as I see it. And I probably wrong more than I'm right, but that's what I think, you know, and I'm not, people say that I'm diplomatic. I'm not really. I'm more, so I just like people just to be honest, you know, just to be honest about, because we all have struggles. We all have problems and stuff, you know, and but there's so much. Let me summarize it this way, right? Go for it.
I try and live by this, and it's really hard, but success equals IQ minus ego plus hard work.
Wow.
And I think there's so much damn ego in our industry.
You're not, and okay, so I'll allude to one point first and I'll come on to that second. You're right, but there's a real a lot of people confuse honesty with rudeness. me being completely blunt, and I don't believe there's any place for rudeness. I really don't. I think, and I think with regards to the ego thing's a kind of a funny thing that you need to untrain, because if people don't know me, they might find some of my posts as quite ego driven. So like on my personal page, I announced that I was saving UK photography on this chat tonight, which is obviously something that it's obviously something like someone like me would say, because I'm obviously not. Right? That's not what I think I'm doing.
But people who know you know you're saying that in jest, in the opposite, you know, because like people who say to me, I've only met you a handful of times, but I always say, you know, James shouldn't be a photographer, he should be a comedian. Because you have you have a great way of seeing something that's really, really serious, right, and turning it into a really positive mindset through comedy. That's how I would summarize you if somebody asked me to summarize you in one line.
Oh, that's very kind. Thank you.
And I think that's a really, really unique skill. Like, you know, the most intelligent people in the world are comedians. You know that? Because they have to be able to do what they do, you know.
Some of my favorite people, I love live comedy is something I'm missing dreadfully at the moment. But no, I think like, and any comedian will tell you that tragedy is basically formed in the foundation. Sorry, comedy is formed in the foundations of tragedy.
Yes.
It's all based in that. But I mean, yeah, I mean, but with regards to that, I mean, I think the sooner we can, I mean, you'll be surprised how many photographers that are at the top of the industry are accessible. And they are, and many of the people at the top have got there because they're just like you know, they're just like you or I. They're vulnerable, and they've made mistakes. And I had a big discussion this week with someone because they weren't critical of me or anything. They just very honestly said to me in a private chat, you shouldn't have told that person in a public forum that they'd failed a qualification. You know, you shouldn't have used the F word, was basically it. And I was like, and I said, okay, well, let's not ban words. Let's discuss why you think that. And I think like that in that particular example, I think that comes from a fear of failure. But I can guarantee you, for every Jerry Jahonis, for every Kelly Brown, for every Sue Bryce, for every Annie Leibovitz, they've all got to their position through failure. They've all got to their position from making mistakes. I've made so many mistakes today, you know, and it's fear of failure that holds so many people back. And in this time specifically, where times are tough, and when people are struggling, and when you're constantly being fed all of this negative doctorate from media sources and from people on the school run to your nan, to everyone, it's that fear that holds you back. Fear of having a million reasons why you shouldn't do something. I can tell you, do you know what? We could do this list. I could write up a list of 100 reasons why you shouldn't make it to Christmas. I can tell you why you should give up. But that's not a reason to do it. You got to find the reasons to do it. And the wonderful thing about photography, the wonderful thing about what we do is for a living, the business we involve ourselves in, is that it has the ability to be positive, and that it's fun, and that it's creative. And that's something it genuinely is. It's something worth really trying for. It really is. That's what I believe.
And I talk about this a lot, about the difference photography makes. You know, it's all based in biology. It's based in psychology. It's, you know, it's there to prove that all those things just help create a healthier society, you know, and that's needed now. It really is.
They're really important. Sorry to cut you off. They're really important records. And I want to allude to something just very quickly in terms of the power of the still image, in terms of what we do. And this isn't me over egging anything, but this is like, the Last Dance, the Michael Jordan documentary on Netflix about the Chicago Bulls, was like a 12-part series, beautifully shot. I mean, all this footage they got was just amazing, wonderful talking heads, the best. There's no point in making another sports documentary because they've just made the best one, right? In the last episode, there's a shot that goes in. The Bulls hit a shot like last minute of overtime. It's like, they win the game, but it's away from home. So they show the footage of the shot going in, and then the documentary cuts. The music cuts off, and it cuts to a still image of the ball going in the hoop. Just cuts from all this moving footage to a still image, and it pans across the still image to all of these fans going, "Oh no," because they've just lost the game to the Chicago Bulls. And then it zooms in on this one kid in the Chicago Bulls vest. And he's like that. And it's just a story in one still image. And everything that's media ready. I mean, videos are everywhere, but still images are still the most powerful form of communication, in my opinion.
I agree. I couldn't agree more.
They are.
So, how are we doing on your list of 10?
How much longer we got? Only got 8 minutes. Reset your goals from long to short. We alluded to that. So stop watching seminars that tell you how to market your business for the next 12 months. Stop worrying about what you're going to be doing next summer. Stop all of that nonsense. Just worry about what you're doing today. That's Yoda's philosophy. And if Yoda is right, there's no way Yoda's wrong about anything. That's what he says about Skywalker. He says, always looking to the horizon, never in the moment, never thinking about what he's doing right now. So think about what you're doing right now and set yourself short-term goals. Even if that means, start work at 9 o'clock. By 10 o'clock, I'm going to have ticked one thing off my list. Boom, done, lovely. Learn new skills was number 5. Photoshop Poi, featuring Unmesh Dinda online. He provides free Photoshop tutorials that are beautifully produced and beautifully timed in terms of their timing, that you can do it along with him. He's not too slow, he's not too fast, he's got a wonderful voice, he's got a really simple frequency separation action that you download, and he takes you through how to smooth skin brilliantly. He's the man. And I've gone on lots of location spotting to try and find locations for when I want to do location photography properly. So I've been on loads of walks, just trying to find easy to access spots where I can take people to do family shoots outside. So that's one thing I've done.
So you're getting some fitness in, getting some fresh air while also working, right? That's
also, yeah, it's also working as well. Yeah. Reconnect properly with your suppliers was number 6. So every supplier that I work with, I've worked with for a reasonably long time. But do you know what? And the news came through about GF Smith yesterday. Suppliers are struggling just as much as us. So maybe they need a call from you as much as you need a call from them, right? It's a two-way street, and a good relationship with a supplier is going to see you good in the long run. Because when you need things later on down the line, where you need things turned around quickly, or this thing isn't quite up to your spec, or they're going to help you out, just like you're going to help them out as well. It's a two-way street. So tomorrow, stick it on your list. Call one of your suppliers up and just ask them how they are. I know it sounds silly, but just do it. Yeah. Speak with an accountant was number 7. Realign your social media interaction was 8. So that's not like get on social media and do loads. The one big change I've made is that I've taken myself pretty much away from the cesspit that's Twitter. And now I've replaced that with LinkedIn. And I've got 2 jobs from LinkedIn. And all I do is just post 3 times a week. And it's just a little picture of what I'm doing. I haven't thought about a long blog that's been beautifully written with wonderful vocabulary. I've just gone, I'm doing this today. Just reminding people, yeah, this is what I do. And I'm still active and I'm still going, just that little bit, but don't obsess with your social media. Sorry,
and James, was that because of the commercial opportunity that you saw? Was that why you went to LinkedIn? Because that's where
100%. Yeah, I wasn't, in 6 years, I think I've got 1 job from Twitter. I think I've got a lot of notoriety from Twitter. I've got a lot of indirect jobs from Twitter, but only actually 1 direct message in my box saying, I would like you to do this shoot for me. What's your fee? And then it's seeing through to a booking. It's one of my favorite shoots I've ever done creatively. It was wonderful, but it's not that for the time you spend on it. The problem with Twitter as well, it's so easy and then go down rabbit holes and get angry and get upset, because it's just 2 extremes of one argument. No one's in the center ground on Twitter. Everyone's here or here. Get off it. It's a cesspit. Number 9 was be prepared to be versatile. And number 10 was celebrate with small wins. That was it. We've covered it.
Very good.
Wow. And then you'll get to Christmas. It'll be fine.
I didn't think we'd get through 10 points in such a short time.
We did
but
well.
Is there any questions? Is there anyone asking any questions? Let's see.
I don't know. I doubt it.
There hasn't been a question yet, and I think that's just down to your communication ability, James. You've just sorted everybody out.
I'll stay here if anyone's got any. You can post them in there now. I've got one for you, Ronan. Red apples or green apples?
Oh,
which one?
It depends on what I'm doing. So if I'm making an apple sauce to go with pork, I'll always use a green one. But if I'm going to eat it raw, it's red.
Very good. I'll only ever eat Granny Smiths. I don't like any other sort.
Right.
My dad likes russets, My wife likes pink ladies. My son likes
Oh,
golden
Pink Lady.
delicious.
Pink Lady. She's good taste. Pink Lady is a nice apple. Nice.
Yeah, no, they're expensive though, but then you pay for what you get, don't you? I suppose.
Yes.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Probably never given this much thought to apples, I must admit. Apples or vegetables was the question I was asked today. If you could only eat one for the rest of your life, what would it be? Apples or vegetables? Oh, sorry, fruits or vegetables?
Oh, it'd have to be fruits for me. I love bananas.
I know.
Love bananas. And it's funny because our eldest daughter can't stay in the room if there's a smell of a banana.
Oh, really?
And I'll eat 2 to 3 bananas a day. It's crazy. So we have a few questions.
Melanie Downs has said thank you. There you go. Thank you, Melanie. Thank you for listening. I appreciate it. This is a long evening. An hour is a long time to give up from your evening. I respect it. Thank you.
Melanie wants to know, James, can anyone apply to join the Honest Photography group?
Yeah.
Now?
Yeah, we let everyone in.
So
you have to answer some questions, but we do let you in.
Do you have a link that you could post in the chat?
Of course I can. Yeah, absolutely. I'll send you the link and you can pop it in there. I'll do it in the chat now. Actually, yeah, I'll do it in the chat now.
Darren Whiteley says thanks, James.
Hey, Darren. How's he? I hope he's well. He's a good. I like Darren. He's good.
Lovely, Darren
lovely
and
man.
Rianne are amazing people. Absolutely
Hilarious.
Absolutely.
So I'll post it in the Q&A as well.
Oh, and Phil Edwards is looking for the name of the Photoshop expert.
Do you know what I'll do, mate? What I'm going to do is I'm going to send you a link to a YouTube video, and you will. Oh, there he is. I'll send you a link to a YouTube video, and you will be able to subscribe to his channel from there. How about that? Here we go. I'm going to send it to you now.
That's brilliant.
Done.
Yeah, excellent.
Yeah. He's great. He's a really good. He's a really good. Like, I don't often recommend Photoshop stuff on YouTube, but he's really good. He's excellent.
Excellent. Listen, James, thank you so much for sharing. We really appreciate you taking the time out. You are a wealth of knowledge, inspiration, and I love the whole theme about keep that mindset positive. Get out and talk to people.
Yeah, get out and talk to as many people as possible. I know it's difficult. I know sometimes you need to take a moment and just not do anything. I understand that completely. But, if you want to move forward, you want to progress, then you've got to get out and meet people.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, James. Talk to you again soon. Take care, stay safe, stay healthy, and mind that family of yours. Take care.
I'll pass it on. Take care. All the best. Take care. Bye-bye.